This is the image that breaks the simulation. If you look at the live drone feed hovering over the National Mall right now, you aren't seeing the usual partisan divide. You aren't seeing a small pocket of blue-haired college students or a convoy of red pickup trucks. You are seeing a human ocean. The National Park Service, which has been unusually quiet about crowd sizes for the last 5 years, has unofficially estimated the crowd at over 250,000 people. They are stretching from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, past the Washington Monument, and pressing right up against the steel-reinforced fencing of the Capitol. But it's not the size of the crowd that has the White House in a state of absolute nuclear meltdown this morning. It's the slogan. For 10 years, Donald Trump has dominated the global consciousness with 4 simple words: make America great again. It was the most successful political branding in modern history. Today, the streets have flipped the script. As of Tuesday morning, January 27th, 2026, the #1 trending hashtag on X, on TikTok, on Truth Social, and even on Weibo in China is hashtag Make America Go Away. It is on the signs held by grandmothers from Virginia. It is spray painted on the plywood boards covering the windows of the Treasury Department. It is being chanted rhythmically, deafeningly outside the heavily fortified gates of the White House. Make America Go Away. It is not a call for revolution. It is not a call for violence. It is a slogan of pure, unadulterated exhaustion. It is a plea from a populace that is physically and emotionally tired of the chaos, tired of the trade wars, tired of the asset seizures, and tired of the constant, relentless noise of this presidency. And inside the executive residence, the reaction is reportedly apocalyptic. Sources close to the Oval Office report that President Trump is losing it. He is viewing this slogan not as a political protest, but as a personal, existential insult. He is reportedly demanding that the National Guard clear the streets immediately. He is calling the governors of Virginia and Maryland traitors for allowing the convoys to enter the Capitol. He is screaming at his televisions. In this deep dive special report, we are going to break down the unprecedented scenes unfolding in Washington, D.C. right now. We are going to analyze why this specific slogan, Make America Go Away, has gone viral globally, uniting everyone from Gen Z nihilists to angry suburban moms. Whispers. We are going to reveal the terrifying bunker strategy that the administration is reportedly considering to survive the week. And we are going to ask the question, when a strongman loses the power to shock and simply becomes an annoyance, is it over? The wipeout isn't just a poll anymore. It's a physical reality marching down Pennsylvania Avenue. How did we get here in 48 hours? Protests of this magnitude don't just materialize out of thin air. They need a spark. And this weekend, the Trump administration didn't just provide a spark, they provided a flamethrower. We have to look at the twin triggers that hit the American public simultaneously. Trigger 1, the Canada tax hits home. As we reported extensively on Sunday, the "we don't need Canada" trade war has backfired spectacularly. The Canadian blockade of heavy crude oil has hit the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic regions with devastating speed. By Monday night, gas stations in Chicago, Detroit, and the D.C. suburbs were running dry. Commuters woke up yesterday morning to find out-of-gas signs taped to the pumps. Those that had gas were charging $6, $7 a gallon. When you tell Americans they can't drive to work because the president picked a fight with Canada over lumber and ego, you don't get political depth. 8, you get primal anger. The gas lines of 2026 have revived the ghost of the 1970s, and the voters are blaming one man. Sarcastic. Trigger 2, the ballroom from hell. But the match that lit the fuse was the visual we discussed yesterday, the mud pit. Yesterday morning, news broke that the construction on the $400 million White House ballroom was halted because the president couldn't pay for it. The judge's order froze the work. The images of that massive, ugly, mud-filled crater on the North Lawn went viral instantly. To the average American who is struggling with $6 gas, seeing their 401k crash due to the Japan crisis, and watching the price of groceries spike because of the potash blockade, that hole in the ground became a symbol of everything wrong with the Trump 2.0 era. It represented waste. It represented incompetence. It represented a leader obsessed with building a palace for himself while his people couldn't afford a commute. The first protest started spontaneously on Monday evening outside the construction fence on Pennsylvania Avenue. It wasn't organized by the DNC. It wasn't organized by Antifa. It was organized by commuters. People got out of their cars in the gridlock and started walking to the fence. They threw empty red gas cans over the barricade in a symbolic gesture of, "We have nothing left." But by Tuesday morning, the crowd had morphed. The unions showed up. The teachers showed up. The silver squeeze in.
Investors showed up. And suddenly, Washington, D.C. was locked down. Let's go deep on the slogan because it is a masterclass in mimetic warfare, and it emerged from the most unlikely place. Sarcastic, "Make America Go Away." It originated ironically in Greenland. During the height of the Greenland Purchase threats last week, protesters in Nuuk and Copenhagen started wearing red hats that looked like MAGA hats, but read, "Make America Go Away." It was a funny, biting way for the Danish people to say, "Leave us alone."
But over the weekend, that slogan jumped across the Atlantic. It mutated. It stopped being about foreign policy and started being about domestic exhaustion. Why is it so effective? Why is it hurting Trump more than resist or not my president ever did? 1, it denies him combat. Donald Trump feeds on conflict. If you scream fascist at him, he screams communist back. It fuels him. It energizes his base. Make America Go Away is not a combat slogan. It is a dismissal. It is the political equivalent of unsubscribe. It frames the president not as a terrifying monster, but as an annoying pop-up ad that won't close. It reduces his stature from strongman to nuisance. Narcissists can handle being hated. They cannot handle being deleted. 2, it unites the exhausted majority. The resistance was often viewed as elite or partisan. Make America Go Away captures the mood of the suburban mom who just wants to watch the news
without having a panic attack. It captures the mood of the investor who is tired of checking the president's Truth Social feed at 3 a.m. to see if a trade war started. It captures the mood of the Gen Z voter who sees the entire political circus as cringe. It is a big tent slogan. You don't have to be a Democrat to want the noise to stop. You just have to be tired.
3, the dark irony. The visual of a sea of people wearing red hats, Trump's signature color, but with the slogan flipped, is visually confusing and powerful. From a helicopter, it looks like a Trump rally. From the ground, it is a rejection of Trump. This visual dissonance is breaking the brains of the cable news pundits. They don't know how to cover a protest that looks like a MAGA rally, but sounds like a breakup letter. So how is the president handling this? According to leaks dripping out of the West Wing to Politico, Axios, and the Washington Post this morning, the mood is paranoid and volatile. The president has reportedly refused to go to the Oval Office today. He is working from the residence, the living quarters. He is glued to the televisions, flipping between Fox, CNN, and OAN, watching the aerial coverage of the crowds. He is lashing out at him.
His staff. He fired his communications director at 3:00 a.m. via Truth Social, blaming him for allowing the narrative to be hijacked by losers and haters. Whispers. But the scariest report comes from the Pentagon. Rushed sources say that at roughly 6:00 a.m., the president ordered the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to deploy active duty troops to secure the perimeter of the White House and clear the streets for traffic. He reportedly invoked the Insurrection Act in the conversation, arguing that the blockade of D.C. traffic was a national security threat, impeding government function.
However, the military pushed back. The Pentagon advised that these are peaceful protesters. There is no burning. There is no looting. There is no violence. It is just a massive, loud, mocking crowd. Deploying tanks against a crowd of grandmothers and students chanting "Go away" would be a PR suicide mission. It would look like Tiananmen Square on Pennsylvania Avenue. This has created a dangerous standoff between the commander-in-chief and his generals. Trump feels besieged. He looks out his window and sees the ballroom crater filled with trash thrown by protesters. He sees the sheriff seizing his towers in New York, and now he sees a sea of people telling him to leave. He is trapped, and trapped leaders are dangerous. He is looking for a lever to pull that will make him look strong again, but every lever is broken. The media coverage of this event is deepening the divide in the country, but in a surprising way. CNN and MSNBC are calling it the exhaustion march. They are leaning into the narrative of fatigue. They are interviewing former Trump voters in the crowd who are saying things like, "I voted for him in 2024 because I wanted cheaper eggs. Now I have $6 gas and a trade war. I'm done." They are framing it as a nonpartisan rejection of chaos. Fox News, however, is in an incredibly difficult spot. Usually, they would defend the president. They would find the one guy with a communist flag in the crowd and say, "Look, it's the radical left." But Rupert Murdoch, or his successor, reads the bond markets. They know the Japan crash was real. They know the corporate donors are furious. So they are pivoting. They aren't defending Trump aggressively. They are attacking the tone of the protests. Is it unpatriotic to want America to go away? Are these people betting against the country? They are trying to frame the slogan as anti-American treason, but it's not sticking because the people holding the signs aren't masked Antifa members. They are farmers in John Deere hats who can't get fertilizer from Canada. They are small business owners. They are the core of the country. When you lose the farmers and the traders, you lose the narrative. Fox News knows that if they go too hard against the crowd, they are attacking their own audience. Curious, the most interesting coverage is coming from international media. The BBC, Al Jazeera, and NHK Japan are covering this wall-to-wall. For the rest of the world, this is the sign they have been waiting for. It is the sign that the American fever is breaking. They are treating it almost like the fall of a regime. The headlines in Europe are jubilant. America wakes up, the end of the era. The protests aren't just in D.C. The viral nature of the slogan has sparked solidarity marches in capitals around the world. In London, thousands gathered in Trafalgar Square with signs saying, "We agree, make America go away." In Paris, the Eiffel Tower went dark in a symbolic gesture of turning off the noise coming from the U.S. In Tokyo, where the financial pain is most acute due to the bond crash, protesters surrounded the U.S. Embassy demanding stability and respect. This is the Davos disaster spilling into the streets. The world leaders who walked out on Trump on Thursday are now seeing their own citizens validate that decision. It gives massive political cover to the European Union to maintain the hard line on trade. Ursula von der Leyen doesn't need to negotiate with the president who is being mocked in his own capital. She can wait him out. She knows he is a lame duck. The protests confirm to the world that Trump 2.0 is over, even if he is still technically in office.
Efes. Pause. Here is the dangerous part for the administration. Protests cause uncertainty. Uncertainty kills markets. Rushed. The Dow Jones opened down another 400 points this morning. Why? Because Wall Street hates social unrest. They see the crowds and they think gridlock, executive orders, martial law risk. The protests are feeding the economic crash, which in turn feeds the protests. It is a doom loop. The Japan shock started the fire. The Canada blockade poured gas on it. And now the protests are fanning the flames. We are hearing rumors that the New York Stock Exchange might trigger a circuit breaker trading halt if the volatility index, VIX, goes any higher. If the stock market closes early because of protests, that is a psychological blow the presidency cannot survive. It screams failed state. And remember the silver squeeze? Silver is rallying again today. Why? Because when you see 200,000 people surrounding the White House, you don't buy dollars, you buy metal. You buy insurance against the collapse of the system. The Make America Go Away movement is inadvertently driving the final nail into the coffin of the Trump dollar.
I want to return to the ballroom from hell for a moment because the imagery there is potent. The protesters have turned the construction fence into a shrine of failure. They are taping their unpaid bills to the fence. Here is my electric bill. Here is my gas receipt. Here is my foreclosure notice. They are throwing pennies into the mud crater. For the ballroom, they shout. It is a devastating visual. The president's vanity project has become the people's wishing well of misery. Every penny thrown into that mud is a vote of no confidence. The Secret Service is terrified that the crowd might breach the fence, not to attack the White House, but to occupy the whole. If protesters set up a tent city inside the quote-unquote Trump crater, the symbolism is game over. It becomes Hooverville 2.0 right on the North Lawn. Imagine the headline, Americans living in Trump's unfinished ballroom. It would be the photo of the century. And the Secret Service knows they cannot shoot people for camping in a mud pit. So where does this end? We are watching a presidency unravel at a speed that is hard to comprehend. 1 week ago, he was heading to Davos to declare victory. Today, he is hiding in the residence while the world chants, "Go away." This isn't a political crisis anymore. It is a psychological one. The president's entire self-image is built on being loved or feared. Right now, he is being
kicked and ignored. The Make America Go Away movement proves that the ultimate power in a democracy isn't the military or the courts or the bond market. It's the consent of the governed, and that consent has been withdrawn. We will be live streaming the protest all night. We have reporters at the ballroom fence and at the Treasury Department. If the National Guard is deployed, you will see it here first. But for now, the message from the streets is clear. The show is over, the audience is leaving, and the star is alone on the stage.
Subscribe, stay safe, and if you're in DC, keep your head down. History is happening, and it's loud. Let's dig deeper into why this specific slogan is destroying the Trump brand. Political slogans usually demand action. Lock her up, build the wall, change, hope, make America go away demands negation. It is an anti-slogan. It resonates with the burnout generation. People are burnt out on news, burnt out on history. Trump is news. Trump is history. By asking him to go away, they are asking for a mental break. It frames Trump not as a villain, but as a headache. You don't fight a headache, you wish it away. This denies him the conflict he craves. He wants a fight. He wants Antifa versus patriots. He doesn't know how to fight apathy and exhaustion. That is why he is losing it. He has no weapon against boredom. The psychology here is love.
Inked to crisis fatigue. After the pandemic, the 2024 election, the inflation crisis, the Greenland crisis, the human brain shuts down. The go-away movement is a collective psychological defense mechanism. It is the country saying, we cannot process any more drama. Please turn off the simulation. Historians are already comparing this to the Bonus Army March of 1932. Veterans camped out in D.C. demanding their bonuses during the Great Depression. Herbert Hoover ordered the military, led by Douglas MacArthur, to clear them out. They burned the camp. It destroyed Hoover's presidency instantly. It paved the way for FDR.
If Trump orders the military to clear the, quote, ballroom protesters, he is repeating Hoover's mistake. The optics of tear-gassing hungry farmers and broke investors will seal the, quote, total wipeout in the midterms. It turns a political defeat into a moral stain. It changes the legacy from the disruptor to the tyrant. We need to talk about the agents on the ground. The Secret Service is exhausted, too. They have been dealing with the, quote, asset seizure standoff in New York, the, quote, ballroom security risks in D.C., and the constant travel. Now they face 250,000 people. Morale is reportedly at an all-time low. There are leaks coming from the detail itself. That never happens. When the people protecting the president start leaking to the press, you know the center cannot hold. They are leaking because they are afraid. They are worried that the president's erratic behavior, demanding tanks, demanding arrests, is putting them in danger. They know that if the crowd charges,
they cannot hold the line. They are the last line of defense, and they are wavering.
Who is leading this march? It's not just the college kids. It's the done generation. It's the millennials and Gen X, the people who have lived through once-in-a-lifetime crises every 4 years. They are done. They aren't marching for hope. They are marching for silence. This is a dangerous demographic to lose because they are the engines of the economy. If the 30 to 50-year-olds check out of the system, if they stop consuming, if they stop investing, the recession becomes a depression. The go-away movement is an economic strike as much as a political one. It is a general strike of the American spirit. What does this mean for Taiwan, for Ukraine, for Israel? When the US Capitol is paralyzed by protests, the world holds its breath. Adversaries might calculate that this is the moment to move. Trump is distracted. The people are revolting. Now we strike. The risk of a foreign policy crisis exploding this week is incredibly high. A distracted American
Rica is a dangerous world, and the go-away signs might inadvertently invite the world to come crashing in. The Make America Go Away viral moment is the culmination of the Greenland-Japan ballroom triad of disasters. It is the voice of a system that has snapped. The system can handle stress. It cannot handle absurdity. And 2026 has become absurd.
We will keep watching. The next 24 hours will decide the fate of the administration. If the tanks roll, it's over. If he resigns, it's over. If he does nothing, it's over. The trap is closed.